I don't know if you can come to the live here. Hello. This is actually my first live. Hope you can see me. If you are joining in, just say hello. And if you can hear me, you can just chat me up. Okay. Hello, lovelies. You are welcome to this live stream section. As most of you already know, I announced on my community tab on Friday that we have hit our first 1,000 plus subscribers. I thank every one of you. I thank you so much for those of you who have played one part or the other to make this journey a fruitful one. In fact, I'm super grateful, and may God bless you all. I'm glad to have you today in my live stream. This is actually my first time going live. So if you are joining, hello, and let me know which country you are watching from. And for those of you who would be watching this as a playback, you are welcome as well. Today, I will be doing a question and answer section, a Q&A section, based on the questions that you have sent to me. So I'll be answering the questions that you have sent to my email and my DM. So without much ado, let's get right into it. The first question I have here is from Rotimi. Rotimi wants to know if someone who can only speak and understand English language can live and work in Switzerland comfortably. Yeah, this question can be a little bit tricky because it all depends on how long you intend to stay in the country. If you wish to live here for more than 2 or 3 years, it would be advisable to begin to learn one of the 3 languages in Switzerland, either German language, French language, or Italian language, depending on the region of the country that you are living and working. But if you work with international organizations such as the Red Cross, Nestle, the United Nations, World Health Organizations, just to mention but a few, you'll be able to cope in the work environment. And you may be able to get away with just being able to speak little of the language. But the issue here is that how do you interact with the locals in the environment where you live? You may need to do your shopping, visit your children's schools, or some other office runs. You will surely need to speak the regional language to a certain level. Okay? The same thing applies to students who attend English-speaking schools. English may be spoken in those schools, but how do you interact with people outside the school environment? That is where the problem lies. So if you are a tourist, for instance, who is visiting just for a few weeks or months, then you can get by because you will find out that there are some people who you meet out there who can speak English and will often switch over to English language when they see that you are struggling to speak their language. Okay? So I think that answers your question, Rotimi. And then question number two, okay? I'm planning to do my master's in Switzerland next year. This question is from Dorothy. How feasible is it to get admission into a university in Switzerland? Okay. She is planning to do her master's here in Switzerland next year, and she wants to know how feasible it is to get admission into a university in Switzerland. Applying to study at any of the Swiss university is not a difficult process as long as you meet the requirements of the university. You know what? Every university has its own requirements because the universities here are autonomous. That they are autonomous in function. That is, They do not have a centralized system for admission. So you have to browse each university's website to find out any requirements and rules in that university. You then have to apply directly through the admissions portal of the university. Okay? So Switzerland offers a variety of study options, many of which are focused on research. So before choosing the selected discipline, you have to gather information about it. Make sure to search out the university website for the particular course that you are interested in studying, and ensure that you meet all the requirements for what you are applying for. I hope that answers your question. Now, in my own case, when I was sure that I was ready to go ahead with my master's program, the first thing I did was to research a school that has a program of study that is connected to what I was doing at that particular time. I was working in a 5-star hotel in Switzerland, so I applied for a master's degree in hospitality management. I was working in a 5-star hotel in Nigeria. Sorry for that. So I applied for a master's degree in hospitality management. This has nothing to do with the bachelor's degree program, which I had because I did my first degree in environmental biology, after which I started working in the hospitality industry. But the moment I was ready for my master's, I did it in hospitality management. So it has to do with what you are doing presently or what you did in your studies in the past. Is that okay? So that is to say that whatever you intend studying, it should be connected with what you are doing presently or what you studied in the past. Another thing you should know is that there are often language criteria set by the school for studying in most of these universities: French, German language, or Italian language. So I did a lot of research at that time to see if I could find a hotel school where the language used for lectures is English language. But I could not find any of the public schools which offers hospitality management in English language. So I had no option but to opt for a private school, a private university, which every one of us knows is very expensive. So now we go to the next question, question number 3. Okay, question number 3. Yeah, the third question is, my son just completed his secondary school program, and I like if he applies for his university studies in Switzerland. Please, what are the steps involved? Wow, that is great. You're a great mother. I'm happy for being ambitious for your son. First and foremost, what does your son intend to study? That is the question that should come to your mind first. If that has been concluded, then you must make sure that he meets all the requirements that we just talked about not too long. And then the next thing is to fill the application form online. You can get this on the university's website, after which you are to pay for the application fee. Then you upload all the documents and all the documents to support your application. Make sure that all this you do before the deadline, and then you are good to go. Okay? Then number 4. What language proficiency test do I need to get before applying for university's admission in Switzerland? Yeah. Then language proficiency test that you need to get before applying for university admissions in Switzerland. As I stated earlier, Switzerland has 3 official teaching languages: German language, French language, and Italian language. The location of the university will determine the language of instruction in that university. However, most of the universities offer study programs in English, but this is not very common in the public schools. So, if you do not hold a language proficiency certificate in the language of instruction of the school, you should start taking classes virtually or online, because you'll be required to do a test, a language test, which will determine whether your level is enough to study that program. The evidence of proficiency required by the schools here is different. Like, for instance, if you are to study in German language, you have to do the DSH exam or the test DAF. Then, if you are to do your program in French, your assessment will be done by the DELF or DAF examination. And lastly, if you are going in for English, you are required to pass the IELTS test or the TOEFL test. All right. Then the 5th question is, what are the admission requirements? It's still on admission. What are the admission requirements for international students applying from Nigeria? The admission requirements for international students applying from Nigeria. Okay. Here, if you are an international student applying for Nigeria, the same goes, whatever the requirements are the same thing. They are the same requirements you will be expected to have if you are applying from other countries. Okay? For instance, you will need a printed copy of the application form. Then, you also need 2 passport photographs. You need a valid copy of your international, that's your identity card. And then the 4th one will apply to you if you are going for your postgraduate program. That is, you will need your official academic transcript or transcript from every university that you have attended in the past. Then number 5, you need a high school or bachelor's diploma. Then number 6, language proficiency certificate. Okay? And then you also need to attach your CV. The 8th thing that you will need to attach is the evidence of payment of your application fee, which sometimes, I think it varies between 100 to 150 Swiss francs. Then, apart from that, you'll be required to write a personal essay or a motivation letter indicating the reason why you want to study in Switzerland and why you have chosen the university, and also the course that you have chosen. Why did you choose this program of study? Lest I forget, there is this personal statement which has to be written and signed by you, stating that at the end of your program, you will return back to the home country. You understand? And that you are not going to abscond. You understand? So once your document has been put together, filled, signed, and translated, if you are required to do so, because there are some schools that expect that all your documents are translated in the language, for instance, French or German language. If you are required to do so, you ensure that you have got every one of them translated. Then you proceed by submitting your application. Okay? I believe that answers that question. Okay? Okay. Then question number 6. When are the application intakes and deadlines in Switzerland University? The application intakes and deadlines in Switzerland universities. Yeah, like most universities in the West, there are usually 2 intakes for international students. the spring intake. The academic section for the spring intake takes place from February to June, while for the fall intake, it takes place from September to February. International students are not part of the EU usually have to. There are a lot of international students who are not part of the EU who usually apply for the fall intake, as there are usually many spots available for them during the spring intake. So talking about deadlines. Deadlines for application to universities in Switzerland vary from university to university. But most of the university start their academic year in October. So you should start submitting application anytime from the beginning of May until the end of September. If your applications arrive late, then it may have to be treated the following semester. So after receiving the acceptance letter, that's question number 7. The question number 7 says, after receiving the acceptance letter, how do I go about my visa application? Now you have received your acceptance letter. How do you go about the visa application? Yeah, if your country falls under the category that requires a visa, don't waste time before starting the process. You have to apply for it as soon as possible once you receive your acceptance letter. You know, a student visa is a document that allows you to pursue a study program in a foreign country, and it usually takes between 2 or 3 months to get a response from the embassy or consulate, depending on which country you are applying from. Okay? If you are applying from Nigeria, for instance, it usually takes a longer time. Okay, so now we go to question number 8. Are students in Switzerland permitted to work? And how much can an international student earn working in Switzerland? Yeah, students in Switzerland are permitted to work. But sometimes combining work and studies can be very challenging. But whenever there is a conflict of interest, your studies should always come first. That is what brought you into the country in the first place. So you remember that? So whenever there is any conflict of interest, you have to pick your academic first. There are many reasons why international students may want to take up a part-time job. For instance, it will enable the student to achieve financial independence. And also, it helps students to gain insight into professional life. Apart from that, student jobs also help to boost your CV. So how much a student will earn depends on how many hours the student actually works per week. As an international student in Switzerland, you are allowed to work for a maximum of 15 hours per week. Not more than that. But during the holidays, during semester breaks, you can work up to 20 hours. Okay? Then question number 9. When you moved into Switzerland, I think this question is directed personally to me. When you moved into Switzerland, did you have any difficulty adapting adapting to the weather? Adapting to the weather, the language, and the new culture. Okay. Yeah, I had my own share of culture shock when I came into this country for the first time. Just like virtually everyone moving into a new country for the first time. So mine was the weather. It took me some time to adjust to the cold weather. I can't really say whether anyone gets used to cold weather anyway. But again, it was my first time experiencing the snow. So then comes the language. It was tough having to learn the language. I really have to put a lot of effort, time, and energy to get to the point that I am today in learning the French language. Then another thing that was new to me was the use of trains, the metro, the trams, and other form of transportation here. And you see, the transportation system here, they really keep to time. And adjusting to that time, to their timing, was something that I also found entirely difficult, and because it was new to me. But with time, I adjusted and I adapted, and I'm fine now. Okay? Thank you for that question. And then question number 10. Yeah. Question number 10. Growing up, my mother used to travel to St. Gallen to buy laces. Which other thing is Switzerland known for? Yeah, this person, he's saying that the mother used to travel to St. Gallen to buy laces when she was growing up. Which other thing is Switzerland known for? Yeah, it is true that you get nice laces from Switzerland, but apart from this product, apart from buying of lovely laces in this country, this beautiful country is also well known for a number of lovely things. It is famous for its beautiful mountains and lakes, good quality wristwatches, and when you talk about food, we can boast of the prestigious Swiss chocolates and cheese, and so many other nice things. If you have the opportunity, come around and visit, and you actually have a nice time. Okay? So question number 11 is from an Indian. As an Indian prospective student, can I stay back in Switzerland and work after completing my school program? Yeah. Once you have completed or graduated from the university, if you are from the if you are a third country national, you will obtain a resident permit for just 6 months. This will enable you to look for a job. And that job has to do with your qualification. And mind you, this resident permit can no longer be extended if you could not find a job during this space of time. And during this period, you are allowed to work maximum 15 hours per week. So if you are able to get a job before these 6 months expires, I'll be so glad for you. Yeah, then you can remain. The employer will renew your permit. But if you couldn't get a job, that means you may have to go back to your country. Okay? Thank you. And for those joining in, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. And then question number 13. Am I in that question number 12? Yeah. Can I apply for a job in Switzerland as a graduate in computer science? I have, and I am still learning German language over here in Nigeria. This person is still in Nigeria, and over there, he or she has learned German language, and is still learning it. So he wants to ask if he can apply for a job in Switzerland as a graduate in computer science. Getting a job as a member of the third world country while still living there can be difficult. I must tell you, the competition is very high. In fact, there are strict quotas on jobs in Switzerland for foreigners. For example, before an employer can engage your services, he will have to prove that the job cannot be done by the locals, and that getting you all the way from another country is the only option that they have. So most times, the resident permits are very limited to managers, specialists, and those with very high educational qualifications. But you can try. One should never say never and never give up. Okay? Yeah, question number 13. Congratulations on your first milestone of 1,000 subscribers once again. I want to ask you, how far has this journey been? Is it hard to become a YouTuber? I have been considering starting my own channel, but I am not yet convinced if I will be successful or not. Thank you very much, Imade. In my own opinion, I don't believe it is hard to become a YouTuber, because you can easily become one as long as you have a camera or a phone, a video editor, and finally, a YouTube account. But if you want to be successful, that is a different ballgame entirely, because that is where your commitment comes in. Just like most other businesses, determination, motivation, and consistency comes in. Okay? That is why it's quite easy if you are a full-time YouTuber. But if you have a full-time job, you may have great content to share, but the time becomes a constraint. But nevertheless, we will get there. We will get there by the grace of God. So, we have come to the end of today's live stream. Thank you so much for your likes, for your chats and comments, and bye-bye for now. Thank you.